Now this part is a balancer shaft. The reason they have the balancer shaft in this engine is to basically help smooth out the vibrations. Not all engines have one of those. This one just happens to, obviously. Basically, the balancer shaft is ran and controlled by the crankshaft. Basically, what happens is when you have your pistons firing, it basically causes an unevenness throughout the engine. So these actually have weights opposed to each other. They have one on top, one on bottom on each side. So basically, when the pistons are spinning and throwing their weight around, basically the balancer shaft is going to try to counteract that. So hopefully the engine will run smoother. So anyways, I want to go ahead and install that now before the crankshaft. It's just so much easier to get it installed without the crankshaft and all the pistons and everything in the way. So we're going to go ahead and do that first. Normally you need a special tool to remove it and then install it, but because we're doing a rebuild and we don't have the crankshaft in, we don't really need the tool. We can just guide it with our hands. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do now. And you'll notice it has two bolts. They're going to be here and here, and one. There's another one down here. There's a little socket basically where it goes in on the other side. It's hard to see, but the bearings here that they sit in, they looked fine, so I didn't actually replace them. They're kind of a pain, but they'll still get some lube, some assembly lube, while I install it too, though. Alright, now the longer bolt, the bigger one, that you can go ahead and put that one in just for time being. It's also going to be used for one of the timing tensioners. But for now, we'll go ahead and put it in, and later we'll have to take it back out. But then that's it. That's all you got to do. That's it. It's pretty easy to install. Now, if the crankshaft and the pistons and everything were still in there, it'd be a little bit more tough. But with the crankshaft out and everything, it's pretty easy. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and continue on with our crankshaft, installing that. I already put assembly lube on it. I may add a little more though. So now we'll go ahead and set our crankshaft in. These are the journals right here. That's basically what they're called, the journals on the crankshaft. You want to go ahead and double check just one more time, just make sure that everything's perfectly clean. If you have even just the smallest little bit of debris, it'll ruin your bearings, and ultimately you'll lose oil pressure. So go ahead and take your time, make sure you do everything perfect. You want this to be perfectly clean. Alright, so now it's time for the bed plate. That's what's going to go over the crankshaft. Your bearings, you'll go ahead and put those in the same way you put on your main bearings for your crankshaft side as well. You're going to need to use some RTV around where the bed plate is going to sit. You want to use high temp RTV sealant. Just put around, to prevent oil from leaking out the side. So you need to go ahead and put RTV around it, and then go ahead and set the bed plate on there, and go ahead and put your bolts back in. And I'll go ahead and show you how I put the sealant around it. But your bolts, you're going to need to go ahead and put those in order, and then also there's a certain way torque spec that you need to go ahead and follow when you're putting these bolts in. You should have a book or some diagram that'll show you which order they need to tighten first. Alright, we'll go ahead and start adding all the other bolts now. It's important to remember which bolt went where. Some of these are special. These ones are actually for the oil pickup tube. It'll rest on there.